You are now tuned in to Power Podcasts, the Empower Hour. Peace and blessings, beautiful souls. I am Brandi L. Bates, author of Moonshine for the Soul, The Art of Grind, and many other books. I'll be your host for tonight. You can find me on Twitter at SoledadFrancis and on Instagram at Brandi is Winning. Most of these podcasts can be found archived on YouTube. Hashtag Power Podcasts, the I Am Brandi Bates channel on YouTube. But please listen to them while they still have all of their vitality, their spirit, their essence, their effervescence, by subscribing to us on iTunes, SoundCloud, and or brandybates.podomatic.com. As many of you may know who faithfully go back and listen to these on YouTube, some of them have been removed. Some of them we're not even able to get them uploaded there. So that's why it's very important and crucial, if you want to get these, to get them for the week or 2 or 3 while they're up. So that's that. Today we're talking about state of emergency. 49 gates of understanding. State of emergency. The mind state of emergency, of urgency. The state of emergency from a state perspective, i.e. presidential alerts and things like that. From the perspective of the 49 gates of understanding. And so I'm asking you today, what's your battle language? What's your battle language? You may be a peaceful soul, but you live on a planet that is dominated by warfare. The strong survive. The might is right, is what rules, right? The rulers, those who are powerful, are able to maintain that status quo based on their strength and their ability to wreck shit, right? The best contribution any one of us can make to humanity, to mankind, to our future lineage and future generations is to improve oneself. That's the single greatest thing you and I can do as individuals, is to improve ourselves mentally, physically, spiritually, emotionally, psychologically, right? Financially. You want to get your money right. You want to be as educated and as intelligent as possible so as to make moves that are steeped in wisdom, right? You want to make yourself as physically fit as your human body can master. You want to get it in its upper echelon, best, highest quality, highest minded position. Not only for the longevity of your life, but it improves your DNA. It improves your bloodline. It improves upon what was already there. And how do you upgrade your operating system? So when I say your operating system, I'm not talking about Mac or a PC. I'm talking about your human operating system, your culture, your customs, your ideas, your prejudice, your privilege, your proclivities, your habits, your fears, your weaknesses, your hopes and dreams and aspirations, your goals, your purpose, your ikigai, right? And so today I'm talking about going back and getting everything you lost in translation. Understand that you embody ancestral experiences, arcane languages that have gone extinct, but are still alive in your cellular memory, experiences. And sometimes people get visions from another lifetime and they don't realize that this is coming from deep down, embedded in your cellular memory. Very few people understand what that looks like when it's fleshed out. And so you have every page of the Akashic records written on the microscopic tendrils of your DNA. If you don't know what the Akashic records are, Google Akashic records, aka SHIC, your Akashic records of the world, of all of this dynamic that we see in the visible world. It's written on the microscopic tendrils of your DNA. Like, really think about that for a minute. That all that has ever been is within you. Because how else could we have gotten to where we are today had it not been for the giants that come before us? The ancestors, our parents, their parents, their parents' 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 parents, and so forth and so on. And so we are naturally born with some memory encoded in our DNA as inherited memory. Just, you just like you get, the eye color, the hair texture, the nose, the shape of the nose, the shape of the hands, the way you walk even. All of that is coming from your genes, your genetic makeup. Some of us are blessed a little bit more than others, right? But this memory is present at birth and is independent of our sensory experiences. So regardless as to what you go through as you grow up, certain things are already there. Either you're going to act on it, or it will lie dormant, or it will present, right? This is memory that is simply coded, or it's written in our genes, inherited from our ancestors, right? It is genetic memory. Stay with me. I'm going to make this as simple as I can. But so for instance, through a study of mice, Emory University School of Medicine, the researchers there did a study, and they established from this study that phobias and fears can be passed down through genetic switches. So this is a kind of memory inheritance, and we now know from studies such as this that memory inheritance acts as a self-defense mechanism. So that, for instance, the new generation can instinctively evade the dangers the fear poses. So, if you knew that your parents and their parents before them and their parents before them had to fight wild elephants or wild hogs or wild dogs, in the Paleolithic times were having to fight, saber-toothed lions and tigers and bears and pandas, all of this, right? Then you're going to be equipped with certain fears, not fears as in, you just are scared shitless, but fears that make you, your nose and the hairs on your arm perk up. Your sense of smell becomes keener. Your vision becomes keener. You get that gut instincts that come from the gut. And by the way, the gut is another mind. We have several minds. We have our brain. We have a gut memory with its own mind, and it sends signals and receives signals and has receptors. But before I get too carried away, memory inheritance, genetic memory. This is the simplicity of genetically inherited memory in science. So we know this is established, okay? But the Akashic records is more of a mystical, metaphysical thing. spiritual in nature, but it affects everything. It affects wars on our planet. It affects how groups of people move and civilizations. All of this is in the Akashic Records. And the Akashic Records are basically this huge compendium of all human events and thoughts and words and emotions and intent ever to have occurred in the past, present, or future. It all exists simultaneously. And we're getting off into some quantum mechanics and quantum physics, but they're encoded in a non-physical plane of existence known as the etheric plane. The etheric plane. Those who are familiar with Dr. Strange, he moved and had his being and operations on the etheric plane. And so from the etheric plane, he could move into, different worlds, different dimensions, different eras, different times. I know it's sci-fi, but that's the only thing I can use as an example to, bring awareness to what I'm talking about. Everything from the wisdom of the planetary spheres, fixed stars, the divine source of above all, the way nature works, the way herbs heal, all of this is encoded in the Akashic Records, encoded within your DNA. In the teachings of, when you go back to Sumerian times, Babylon, Persia, in the teachings of the Hebrew Kabbalah, there are 7 primary Sephiroth. Stay with me. Don't get swayed by the words. Just stay with me. There are 7 primary Sephiroth. The Sephiroth are aspects of God, or the God force, the source of creation. 7 primary arms, branches, right? Now, the 7 primary Sephiroth, this is Kabbalah, basic 101. The 7 primary Sephiroth correspond to the 7 days of creation, so-called, right? If you believe in the creation mythos, okay? The 7 days of creation break down on a microcosm of the 7 days of the week. The 7 planets, and all are related mystical considerations around the number 7. 7 is a master number. So there are 3 Sephiroth just all over to the left. This is just over to the left, right? There are 3 Sephiroth above these 7. And they represent the crown, they represent wisdom, and Bina, understanding. And they're considered hidden Sephiroth. We don't even see those in the visible world. Okay? Just like you have your physical body, your senses of smell and taste and touch, and then you have shit you can't see, but you know it's real. Love is not tangible, but it's very real. Fear is intangible, very real. Invisible, but it's real. These hidden Sephiroth, in many ways, are a separate system unto themselves. They control different aspects of the visible world. So for instance, some of us say, oh, well, trust the stars, right? Because they have such sway on our behavior and our attitudes and our fears and dispensations and different ideologies and ideas. But the physical man or woman has no part in these transcendent levels. These is levels of deity. You have to get your mind right. You have to overcome so much before you can really get on that level. All right. So this is a work of a lifetime. We're not talking about something you can read a book, look at a couple of YouTube videos and boom, you got this, and this is who you are, and you're able to walk in this. Understand, everything is a process. It doesn't matter if you're trying to lose weight, gain weight, start a business, write a book, build an empire, build a family, be a homemaker. Everything is a process. We have our good days and we have our bad days. We have our days where we're excited and amped up and energized, and we have our days where we're tired. Things change. Something that is today may not be 2 weeks from now, may damn sure not be 2 years from now. Everything is in flux. So we don't come into anything overnight and just we're able to move and bend and shake and, activate our powers and in different things. It doesn't happen that way. But it's a beautiful aspiration to aspire to, right? So I'm going to run through these 49 gateways really quick, and then I'm going to touch on state of emergency, and we're going to wrap up this podcast. So the Sephiroth, the tree with the Sephiroth, the branches, basically what I was saying is it consists of these 10 globes of luminous splendor. This is the tree of life. This is everything coming into creation, everything moving from realm of invisible, what we don't see, the thought world, the world of ideas, down into something tangible and concrete and malleable. And by the way, everything is malleable. Everything can be changed. Everything can be negotiated. Everything can be reworked. But you have these globes of luminous splendor, and they're arranged in 3 vertical columns, and they're connected by these other 22 channels or 22 pathways. We all have different pathways. Each and every one of us. I don't care if you're in a family of 3 or 4, each and every one of you and your siblings have a different pathway, a different direction you're supposed to go. So the 10 globes are called the Sephiroth, and to them, they're assigned the numbers 1 to 10, right? And then you have the 3 columns, and the 3 columns have names. Mercy on the right, severity on the left, that's balance, mercy and severity. And in between them, you have mildness, that's moderation, that's the reconciling power. The columns also can be said to represent wisdom, strength, and beauty. Wisdom, strength, and beauty, which form the triad or triune support of basically the entire universe and multiverse. So it's written, that the foundation of all things is the 3: wisdom, strength, and beauty. You have your mercy, severity, and mildness. The 22 channels are the letters also of the Hebrew alphabet, alpha, beta, and to them are assigned the major trumps of the tarot deck of symbolic cards for all the brujas listening. So the 49 gates of understanding, they represent 49 days or 7 weeks, going back again to the whole 7 Sephiroth, 7 planets, 7 days of the week. You get the gist. 49 gates of understanding represent 49 days or 7 weeks of self-elevation and self-evaluation. There are 49 aspects of our character that we should all be working on developing diligently. It doesn't matter if you are a 19-year-old, a 59-year-old, a postdoc, undergrad, 16-year-old, high school dropout. It doesn't matter. All of us should be working on certain aspects of our character. And when you don't, that's when you start having problems in different areas of your life. As long as you're working on it, you may never come to fruition and perfection, but as long as you're working towards it. So when we speak of a state of emergency, or we hear of a state of emergency, it's typically in relation to the notion of volcanoes or earthquakes or mudslides, forest fires, extreme flooding, right? Hurricanes and tornadoes, right? Tornado Watch 2018. And that's all Mother Earth's way of cleansing her immune system, basically flushing away the virus of humanity. Because when you think about it, humanity as a whole, we really are a virus on this planet. We are not contributing anything to this planet. We take the oil, we take the fruits and veggies, we're contaminating the skies, the air, we're contaminating the waterways, you name it. We're creating bombs that can completely destroy huge swaths of land. That is what humanity is as a whole. And so this is about upgrading and hedging your own personal operating system in such a way that you never have to play the role of victim ever again. You never have to fall to the whims of common mankind. And survival is the ability to swim in strange water, the ability to eat strange fruit, sometimes under strange circumstances. Show me any survivor, anybody who's been through some actual shit. I'm talking about, being evicted, losing it all, divorce, bankruptcy, at the brink of death, seeing the light and everything and being brought back from life support or brought back off of a coma. Everyone who has survived something understands that it's about your ability to adapt and bounce back from whatever it is. At the end of the day, anything that can happen to you, anything that does happen to you, means nothing until you assign a meaning to it. But no matter how bad it may feel or uncomfortable it may get, it's still, at the end of the day, something that you have to deal with and adapt to and, maneuver. But a person needs new experiences. Women need new experiences. Men need new experiences. Because new experiences jar something deep inside of us, allowing us to grow. The 49 gates of understanding are as follows. I'm going to run through them. Study, number one, study. This makes me think of the 42 ideas of Mayat, but they're not. They're slightly different. Study. One of the things that anyone had to do to get into Plato's school was they had to study to show themselves approved. Number two, attentive listening. That's why we have 2 ears and 1 mouth. And so few of us work those in the order in which they should be worked. Study, attentive listening, orderly speech. Number 3. How many of you know that people will constantly judge you based on your vernacular, your accent, and how clearly you speak? They don't care about how what all you have on your resume or what your GPA was. They are judging you from the moment you open your mouth. The moment you open your mouth, people are making all types of judgment calls on your character and who you are and, your personality just based off of your speech. And once you understand that, you can move up in such a way in society that you couldn't before, because you didn't realize the importance of orderly speech. Not to mention how your words speak and create your personal reality and what happens to you in the course of a day. Number 4, understanding. Number 5, intuitive insight. Number 6, awe, shock and awe. all. Number 7, reverence. Number 8, humility. Number 9, joy. Number 10, purity. Number 11, attendance on scholars. If you are the smartest person in the room, you're in the wrong room. When you think about your 4 to 5 closest top 5 people that you speak to often, that you hang out with, go to the movies, go to the mall, go shopping, sit up on the phone, sit up on group chat, whatever you do, you are the average of those 4 or 5 people. And if you are at the top and you are the smartest one, and you're the one who knows everything, and you're the one who they go to for solace and information and clarification, or you name it, you have to get you some more associates. It's the only way to grow. Number 12, debate with colleagues. Ray Dalio, in his principles, he speaks on the importance of debating with your equals, who can convince you to hold 2 opposing views without getting bent out of shape. Most of us can't hold one view and without fighting and crying in an argument and getting personal, because you don't know how to realize an idea is just based on your awareness and your understanding of life at that moment. It can change. If you have more information about what's going on, it would change your opinion. You know more, you know better, you do better, you can speak better about it, right? Number 13, discussion with students. You know, in order, so for instance, in undergrad, we read the classics, we read things like Virgil in its original text. And we do that in order to learn to decode and understand coded language. The media is peppered with coded language. I don't know if you're familiar with sigil magic. Sigil magic, they use digital sigils, a form of sigil magic, in mainstream media. Your radio stations use it. A lot of times if you go to like a Target, or you go to even a Whole Foods, there's little music playing in the background, little talking. It might sound like talk radio or a podcast, but there are codes in there. There's subliminals in there. When we moved to the digital divide and the president mandated everybody have to have a high def TV, and we went from analog to digital, that's when they started encoding the media with digital sigils. Look up sigil magic. This is a real thing. And they have the flicker rates going on your news channels, your major Fox and CNN, and now they're starting to put them on the websites. And that's to control you. And they can say, buy, obey, do this, vote for this, pay attention to this, watch this. That's bad, this is good. That whole notion is going on. 14, deliberation. 15, knowledge of the ancient secret teachings of all ages. A lot of us are destroyed because we don't have any idea of who we really are. We don't know who our ancestors were. A lot of us. We don't know the way the real actual, it took me going to college to really learn real history. You know, they give you the watered down, pretty, photoshopped, pasteurized version of history in public school. When you get to college and you get to grad level and you start taking those courses that really show you what really happened, then you're like, okay, so this is why this nation is in power and that nation is in poverty and impoverished, so forth and so on. You understand the world better. And this is paramount to wisdom. and understanding. And even getting ahead in this life, financially, spiritually, mentally. 16, moderation in business affairs. 17, moderation in worldly affairs. 18, moderation in pleasure. 19, moderation in sleep. 20, moderation in conversation. 21, moderation in frivolity, in mirth. You can't be too goofy. You got to know when to be serious. You have to know who you're talking to, and you have to know the level of the company you're in at all times, unless you say something foolish. 22, patience. 23, good-naturedness. 24, trust in the sages. Trust in the gurus, the philosophers, the poets. 25, uncomplaining acceptance of that which you cannot change, right? Serenity. God grant me the serenity to accept that which I cannot change. 26, because why get bent out of shape over shit you can't do anything about? Like, you mad because it's raining. Like, you don't control that. So you have, you know what I mean? So 26, knows his or her place. Stand in your lane. You can do far more and be most effective by simply staying in your lane. It's the best place for you. Don't worry about what he doing, what she doing, what your brother did, what your father did, what your sister's doing, what the girl who you grew up with, your co-workers. Stay in your lane, because again, we are all resonating to different pathways and frequencies. So no one's voyage or adventure or path is gonna look like yours. And your voyage is uniquely suited and built and customized and tailored for you, your strengths and weaknesses, what you can and cannot tolerate, what you can and cannot deal with, where you can flourish, where you will fail, and the intersection of all of those things. 27 is content with his or her lot in life. Not saying you have to remain where you are, because it's not your fault where you were born, or the family you were born into, or your race, or your ethnicity, or your gender. But saying, I accept where I am. I accept who I am. Acceptance of humble beginnings, right? Not being bitter about maybe coming from the slums or the projects, or coming from a lower class, or, low income family, or whatever. But, having some pride and dignity in your lot in life, and understanding that you can change it. You can change it. You can shape it. You can build it out. You can improve it. You can, rehabilitate it. You can renovate your lot in life. 28, limits his or her words. 29, does not claim credit for achievements. If you have to proclaim how great and special you are, you're not really great and special. So just do epic things and let others glorify your works. You don't need to glorify your works. Beautiful people don't have to walk around the world telling the world that they are beautiful. They just find that the world gravitates to their beauty. 30 is beloved. A lot of people are feared. Very few people are loved. So when you come across a genuine soul, a genuine spirit, you just have to love them. That's a good person. A good movie to watch about that is 7 Pounds. Finding people just that are good, just have a good heart. Beloved. 31, loves God, or, the Most High, or the Creator, or your source, knowing who your source is. You can control a lot of things. You don't control the beat in your heart. You don't control your breathing. You don't control so many involuntary things that are going on that have nothing to do with you. You go on a trip, and you go on a psychedelic trip, you will see the hand of God moving in nature. There's some places you can see in this country that are so beautiful. How can you not see the hand of some grand architect structuring that thing out? It's just impossible any other way to explain it. 32, loves mankind. You have to love people. You really have to love. To be successful in business, you have to love people, because you have to deal with people. You have to love people. You have children, you learn to be patient and love people. To go far, you have to love people. And people can be stupid and people can be idiots, but you have to love people. 33, loves acts of charity and loves acts of kindness. 34, loves straightforwardness. 35, loves admonition. Gates of understanding. 35, loves admonition. 36, shuns honor. 37, is not conceited with learning. 38, does not delight in dictating decisions. 39, shares the burden of his or her fellow man. 40, judges everybody equally. 41, truth and directs others to truth. 42, and to peace, is composed in his or her learning. 44, asks pertinent questions and answers to the point. 45, listens and adds to what he or she learns. 46, studies in order to teach. They say you don't understand something until you can explain it, till you can teach somebody else. 47, studies in order to practice. 48, increases the wisdom of his or her teacher, his or her guru or mentor. You've got to at least surpass your parents' level. Bare minimum. You should be doing better than your parents. You should, earn more money than your parents. You should be able to have a nicer home and make better decisions than your parents. And then hopefully your lineage, your children, your future family will surpass you. And so this is how empires grow. If you're doing worse than your folks and they're doing worse than their folks, that means you're degenerating. Don't get it twisted. Do not get it twisted. If you're doing worse than your parents or they're doing worse than their parents, that's degeneration. Empires only grow when each generation is doing better and growing and developing and improving. And lastly, 49, notes accurately what he or she has learned. In other words, walks the walk and talks the talk. That's what graduation represents. You walk in the walk. You have crossed over. Frank Herbert says in one of the Dune books that most civilization is based on cowardice. It's so easy to civilize by teaching cowardice because you water down the standards, which would lead to bravery. You restrain the will, you regulate the appetites, you fence in the horizons, you make a law for every movement, you deny the existence of chaos, right? There's no climate change, right? And you teach even the children to breathe slowly. You tame. And so understand, the beginning of knowledge is the discovery of something we do not understand. The minute you discover something you don't understand and you really try to get down to the roots of it, that's when you're tapping the next level. Show me a completely smooth operation, state of emergency. Show me a completely smooth operation and I'll show you someone who's covering mistakes. Real boats rock. Real men and women are flawed, have vices. That's why you have people who are smart, but they may have weaknesses. They may be alcoholics. They may suffer from alcoholism. Or people who have beautiful hearts and souls, beautiful spirits, but they may have some skeletons in the closet. They might be addicted to drugs. They might be addicted to pills, so forth and so on. Because real people are flawed, and real relationships have ups and downs, trials, arguments, disagreements, sometimes even pain. Understand that the ensemble of relationships which you find yourself during this life all contribute to the tapestry and texture which is you. Even the painful ones, especially the unforgettable ones. And the reason why your relationships get rocky is because it's two flawed people with vices and flaws and idiosyncrasies and foibles and fears and habits and shit coming together, trying to make something and build something beautiful and perfect, but both of you have your own broken edges and bent off, sharp edges, right? So, state of emergency. So the other day, FEMA sent its first ever test of the presidential alert to your phone if you live in the United States, North America, or you have a phone service under the umbrella of FEMA, and you got a text message from the President of the United States. But unlike the emergency alerts and Amber alerts that you can toggle off on your smartphone, you're not able to switch off the notification for this presidential alert. And this presidential alert was designed by FEMA to be used in the event of a national emergency. Now let's look at the ramifications of this, because what's scary about this is that it doesn't matter what type of phone you have. You have an Android, you got the text. You have an iPhone, you got the text. You have a Samsung, you got the text. Old phone, new phone, red phone, blue phone, right? You got the presidential alert. Understand that so they had planned it already. It was already, people think it just came out of the clear ether. No, it had been planned in advance. But what happened was Hurricane Florence postponed the original date, which was September 17th. They love to do things in September, but they thought that Hurricane Florence was going to be the motherlode of all storms, the motherlode of all hurricanes. It was supposed to be the great storm. So, but what happened, was it was downgraded, but still, what is the meaning behind all of this emergency, right? This isn't even for you to, I leave this as open-ended as I'm posing it to you. I'm not giving you an answer, or I'm asking you to ask yourself, What is the meaning behind all of this emergency? What are the ramifications of keeping us in a state of breaking news, right? I mean, we're all chipped, either in our driver's licenses or passports, and of course, are tracked with our credit cards and debit cards, right? And we can be monitored from our cell phones, and we give detailed intel of our daily whereabouts and comings and goings via Facebook and other social media accounts. And we're seeing more emergency drills. We're seeing more emergency drills at the same time as real mass shootings and things like that, in the midst of these record storms. And we have record levels of volcanic activity. So much going on. Typhoons and that are taking out people, and mudslides that are taking out huge masses of people. And again, I always have to remind people, this is Mother Nature's way of naturally cleansing and removing some of the virus and bacteria of humanity. But it's I believe it's also coordinated. It's that's why some nations get hit harder than others, and the repair comes faster in some nations than it does in others. FEMA to the rescue in some places, and others is, they need to figure it out. But it was written, once men turned their thinking over to machines, AI, 5G, once men turned their thinking over to machines in the hope that this would set them free, but that only permitted other men with machines to enslave them. So what do such machines really do? They increase the number of things we can do without thinking. Things we do without thinking. There's the real danger. So just remember, a little recap, the human memory, the cellular memory is in your genes. The human memory mechanism cannot be duplicated. Its complexity outstands technology. So that's where you have the difficulty to artificially duplicate that. Otherwise, they would have been replaced your ass, been replaced all of us. But computers have come a long way in almost identifying with human memory, but have not been able to meet all the specifications. So, the representation of short-term memory as RAM and long-term memory as ROM, that's one of the aspects of computer memory that's almost an identical depiction of human memory. But the complexity of the brain's memory has not been achieved. They can't do it. The human brain recovers memory. The human mind is powerful. One of the most powerful machines ever. The brain is a quantum system. The brain is a D-wave computer. The human brain recovers memory without living out sensory details surrounding an event. So it can include the details of smell, feel, taste. I can play music, play a song, and take you back to when you were 3 years old or 4 years old or 6 years old, and you can remember what your mother was cooking. You can remember what the weather was like. You can remember what you were wearing. All of that is in the, cellular memory. And not only is the brain a quantum system, but I talked before about the ziggurat in Baghdad, modern day Baghdad, Iraq is former Babylon. That used to be Babylon, where you have Mystery Babylon. You have the huge occult empires and centers of civilization. But they had handheld particle accelerators. How we have the D-Wave computer today, we have the particle accelerator, CERN. They had handheld particle accelerators. Deep science. And when the American military went over there, they raided those museums. But if you take nothing away from this talk, take this. And I'm going to leave you with this. Memory never recaptures reality. Memory never recaptures reality. Memory reconstructs. All reconstructions change the original. You never remember things exactly how they were. It's going to be slightly shaded. That's why you can talk to 5 different people about the same event from 10 years ago, and you're going to get a slightly different version from each person. All reconstructions change the original and become external frames of reference that inevitably fall short. Take care. Have a wonderful rest of your day. Stay safe out here. It's a reason why they're putting all this emergency and breaking news and all of that in front of you. But stay the course and remember all of the ways and the gateways, the 49 gateways, and reach out and call somebody today and tell them you love them, because tomorrow is not promised. Peace.